Guys, welcome to another episode of the Variety Views. I'm your host, the Variety Vendor, and I'm here to review Royal Rumble 1990. This was a great show. This was a freaking fantastic show. There were a couple matches here that I really enjoyed, and there were, a couple of matches that were better than expected. So let's get right to it. A dark match. Well, first off, the show was in Orlando, Florida, and January 21st, 1990. So got that out of the way. Let's get right to the show. There was a dark match between Paul Roma and the Brooklyn Brawler. Again, Paul Roma not really being used. I never understood why he wasn't used. He fit more in the WWE bubble than he did in the NWA or WCW. That's just my opinion, because whenever you think of WWF, you think of like larger than life, like big dudes and that seem like superheroes, and Paul Roma fit the bill. So I never understood why he was never really used. Or used to his full potential, I should say, because he is, used every once in a while in TV and shows. But usually he's not featured. He's not featured like in a prominent role. So we get right into the first match on the card, and first off, let me talk about the video package. You get Vince McMahon running down everybody that's going to be in the Royal Rumble, just like he did in '89, and it's just freaking awesome. I love it because it makes every wrestler that is involved in the Rumble seem like a big deal. So right off the bat, you understand every person that's going to be in the Rumble and what they're all about. So I like that. Some segments, it's a little bit fuzzy. I don't know which order they're at, so I'll get to certain segments when I get to them. I'm not going to go in chronological order, although when it comes to matches, since I got it right here, I will go through them in chronological order. So we start off the show with the Bushwhackers, Butch and Luke, going up against the Fabulous Rougeaus. Now, I did not recognize the Rougeaus to begin with because Jacques had a beard, and what a magnificent beard it was. And Raymond kind of looked a little bit different, so I was like, is that really the Rougeaus, or did they switch them? Because they tend to do that sometimes. They did that with Demolition, and they do that with the Islanders and the Head Shrinkers. So, nobody would notice. They're heels. Who cares? As long as they have their heater. So, match itself was bad. It was a bad match. But what made it was the commentary and the fans. So I can't really say that it was a horrible segment, or like a match. But like the in-ring work, some of the stuff that was going on, it kind of felt like they were kind of lost. When it comes to the Bushwhackers, the Rougeaus are freaking fabulous. There's a reason why they're called the Fabulous Rougeaus. They're absolutely awesome the way they sell. Jacques especially, there's a reason why he went on to do bigger and better things, because they're just so freaking good. They're so freaking good. And the way that they sell, the way that they give to the Bushwhackers, and the Bushwhackers got to do whatever they wanted, what they're famous for, licking the partner and rubbing the head and acting all crazy and stuff like that. So the fans freaking ate it up. And I don't know if it's because it's the first match on the show or they were really, that hot of an act. They were a hot act in the 80s, like in the mid-80s, but I don't know, like in 1990. But the fans were just freaking hot in this match. So I can't help but give it a freaking four stars, 4.25 stars, because it was so good. They went out there, they did what they had to do, what made them, and the fans freaking ate it up. Now, I would give it a higher rating And sure, 4.25 stars, nothing to sneeze at. It's a magnificent rating, especially with the people involved. But I would give it a higher rating if they gave the fans what they truly wanted, and that is Jimmy Hart getting, his comeuppance basically at the end, and just being attacked, or getting the battering ram or something, or an atomic drop, something so simple, and it could have worked, but they didn't. They didn't go for that. So that's all I got to say about that. 4.25 stars. It's a great match. It's a great match, but the in-ring work wasn't that good, especially with the stuff with the Bushwhackers, because you can tell they truly wanted to be heels. It didn't feel natural to them. It just kind of felt like sometimes whenever I look at Luke, it always felt like he wasn't really embracing being a bushwhacker. He was like, well, yay, But I don't know. Maybe it's just me, because especially seeing him in shoot interviews and seeing him, seeing the bushwhackers when they work for freaking sheep herders, it's a whole different ballgame. So after that, we got Brutus the Barber Beefcake versus the genius Lanny Poffo, and this wasn't. This was a good match. This was a fine match up until the end, and it just ruined. It ruined the match. The ending ruined the match because it ended in a double disqualification. The ref got knocked out to the outside, and Mr. Perfect came into the ring because Brutus was cutting Lanny Poffo's hair, and Perfect, saved Lanny Poffo from getting his head shaved. And the ref got into the ring, and he was like, all right, double DQ. And I'm like, what? Why? Why was it a double DQ? Clearly, Mr. Perfect got into the ring, so you should have either awarded the match to Brutus, or because Brutus was the one that knocked you out, awarded to the genius. Either that, or the ref is knocked down, give the match to the genius. Let the genius, win a match, for God's sakes. He was so good. Lanny Poffo was so freaking great. I never understood why he wasn't used as much as he deserved. He deserved so much more. The genius was absolutely amazing, way ahead of his time. And I'm really sure that if he was part of the new generation, he would be a huge star. But sadly, he wasn't. After that, we got Rugged Ronnie Garvin and Greg the Hammer Valentine going up against each other in a submission match. Now, Jesse Ventura said that it was an I Quit match. And I get it. I understand. The stipulations are the same. One has to quit. All right, cool. But this kind of match is so rare. It's so rare that it's understandable that the competitors, kayfabe-wise, they wouldn't understand the rules. So they would go on instinct. So they would go for covers. But this match went so long. It went so freaking long. I was so bored. The fans seemed like that they were bored. Every time they get something, they cheer, and then boom. They stop. They don't care anymore. And I noticed that because they were hot for up until this point, up until this match, they were hot. But Ronnie Garvin is not a good babyface, at least in the WWF. And he's so freaking cartoony. In this match, he was so freaking cartoony. So basically what was going on was that Ronnie Garvin had a brace on his leg, right? And to combat Greg the Hammer Valentine's brace, which he calls the Heartbreaker, and basically adds, kayfabe. It adds extra leverage to the figure four. To combat it, Ronnie Garvin has a brace to not get the effect of the figure four. How does that make any sense? I don't understand, because really, I've been in the figure four, and it hurts your knee because like there's pressure on your knee and also on your ankle. So either way, you're getting something out of it. But what did Ronnie Garvin do? He just looked at the fans and he's like, "Look at this guy." I'm like, "What? That's your baby face?" It was so bad. Now, when he gets pissed off, his facials are great. Absolutely great. That's why I think he was miscast as a babyface. I think he should have been a heel. He would have been the answer to a Florida Championship Wrestling's Kevin Sullivan. I think he would have been like that, where he's like the guy that's not as big as everyone else, but he is just, he doesn't give a crap. He just beats up everybody. If you do that with his facials, you got a star right there. But here, he wasn't a star. He wasn't a star. I like the snugness, the slaps, the punches, it felt, there are moments where it felt gritty. And every time that it seems like that they're going at that pace and the fans are getting into it, and I was getting into it, they go back down to being cartoony. And that is why I just give this match a freaking star and a half. Because there were some good parts in this match, especially the ending. I think the Ronnie Garvin's finisher, I can't remember what it was called, but it's a sharpshooter. And Ventura called it the reverse figure four. Okay, reverse figure four. I thought the reverse figure four was the Indian Deathlock. But hey, what do I know? So Ronnie Garvin won at the end. Okay, so star and a half. After that, we got Jim Duggan versus the Big Boss Man. And again, another match that ends in a DQ. This match was good, was going well. Big Boss Man is great. And so was Jim Duggan. And this match was like, it was going in a pace where, oh, there we go. There's another segment. It was going in a pace where it kind of felt like an old school Japanese style match, where it's like they had 6 minutes, but it felt like a war where they were beating the crap out of each other. And Jim Duggan is this valiant babyface that's working from underneath, and Big Boss Man is like this defiant heel, this monster of a bully. And it works. It works every time. If it happens a million times, it works every single time. And especially when you have such a great babyface in Jim Duggan. So they have the match. It went well. It went really well. But by the end, ends in a DQ. Because Big Boss Man used his nightstick. And I did not like that. But hey, at least at the end, Jim Duggan got his hands on Slick. He got to hit him with a 2x4, on his frickin' ass. So for that, for how the fans were reacting and everything going on in that match, I give this match 3.5 stars. It was fun. There were a lot of fun moments. It was a fun match. But the ending, I was like, eh. But then they did the stuff with Slick. I was like, okay, you know what? All right, I'll give it a pass. 3.5. Because Big Boss Man was going on to do other things, in the main event. And plus he freaking had a couple of main event matches with Hogan, before that. I think in, I remember he had a steel cage match with Hogan in '89 at a Saturday Night's main event. And, hey, whatever works. Whatever frickin' works. Then we get to the main event. All right, before that, there was a segment, before we get to the main event. There was a segment, because usually, like, the first Royal Rumble, we had Dino Bravo's, bench press. 89, we had the pose-off with Rick Rude and Ultimate Warrior. Here, we have a Brother Love segment. You know, Brother Love coming out, and my God, he was young. Bruce Pritchard was so freaking young. And calls out Sensational Sherry, and then calls out Sapphire. And they just, you know, freaking verbally assaulted Sapphire, Sensational Sherry, and Brother Love. And it was very well done. It was very well done. I was thinking to myself, okay, today's WWE, they would talk down to her, talk down to her, talk down to her, and then the heels don't get their comeuppance until like months later. But here, it's a big show. They talk down to her, talk down to her. Out comes Dusty Rhodes to make the save. And, you know, Sapphire and Sensational Sherry get they attack each other. Out comes Macho King, Randy Savage, gets into the ring, attacks Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes fights him off. Sapphire jumps on Macho Man, and Bruce Pritchard pulls her off. Brother Love pulls her off, and then Macho King attacks Dusty Rhodes a little bit. Then the officials take Macho King and Sensational Sherry away. Bruce Pritchard, Brother Love gets on the mic and he talks down to Dusty Rhodes, talks down to Dusty Rhodes, talks down to Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes comes into the ring, gives him a freaking atomic drop. Sapphire slaps him, and then Dusty Rhodes freaking beals Brother Love out of the ring. He just freaking throws him, through the ropes, and it just. He could have gotten into the freaking first row, but he didn't. And the bump was magnificent, especially for a non-wrestler. My God, I'm surprised he didn't break a hip or something, because that was a nasty bump. Like the way that it looked great, it looked freaking great, but I'm sure that he was hurting, especially not being trained. And it was a great segment. It was a freaking great segment. And Sapphire's got some moves. She's got some moves. The way she dances, and it's great. It's absolutely wonderful. It's the best Dusty Rhodes in WWF, and it's the best time. It's the best time. The fans got what they want. Great segment. The best. WWF segment on a Royal Rumble show, but probably since the contract signing in the first one. But the first one had a great contract signing, but this was better. I think this was better. This was a better segment because it had a setup and it had a payoff. Fans were happy. Everybody was happy. Golden segment. Then we get to the main event. All right. Before that. Mr. Perfect, he got his number, and his number was number 30. He was happy. He got the perfect number. And $1 Million Man got his number, and it's number 1. Last year he got number 30 because he switched with, can't remember. I think it was Akeem or somebody. Either Akeem or Big Boss Man. He was talking to Slick. He was talking to Slick about it, and he paid him off, and he got the number 30 number, the number 30 number, the number 30 number. That sounds weird. So, anyways, my God. So he gets number 1, and he's angry, and I like the story that's going on throughout the show, where everybody is talking about their number. And them being happy or not, nobody revealed their numbers except for number 30 and number 1. So we know who's coming out last and who's coming out first. And Teddy DiBiase's all full of himself, and he's like, I don't care what number I'm getting, but at the end, I might be walking in as number 1, but I'm walking out last. I'm the last. I'm going to be the last man standing, and it's great. It's freaking great. Everybody was great, in cutting promos. Bad News Brown cut a great promo. Demolition cut a great promo where they're like, hey, last year we started off the Rumble against each other, but now we've got a plan. We're going to work together, and we're going to fight everybody off, and then till you and I are going to be the last man standing. And it was great. They were working off last year's Rumble and played it into this year's Rumble. So great storytelling. Now we get to the Rumble itself. This was freaking awesome. This was an awesome, 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 awesome Rumble. The star power was off the charts. There was no room for enhancement talent. That's how stacked the Rumble was. Let's look at the freaking names, all right? We start off with Ted DiBiase, all right? Coco Beware. He was over. He was over at the time, Got the Rockers. Jake the Snake Roberts. Randy Macho Man Savage. The return of Roddy Piper. The Powers of Pain. We got the Hart Foundation. We got Dusty Rhodes. Got Bad News Brown. Andre the Giant. Demolition. Haku. Jimmy Snuka. Jimmy Snuka we haven't seen for a while. And he's back here. Dino Bravo. The Earthquake. The Canadian Earthquake at this time. And the dude was built so well. He was pushed. He was booked so well. He eliminated a few dudes. Everybody was like, "Oh man, we can't eliminate him by ourselves. So let's work together." And they eliminated him. They made him look like $1 million. The Ultimate Warrior, Rick the Model Martel. After the breakup of Strikeforce, you got Tito Santana, Honky Tonk Man, Hulk Hogan, Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, and Hercules Hernandez. There's no room for enhancement talent. The only enhancement talent that we got was, Red Rooster and Coco Beware. That's it. Everybody else, frickin' star. That's how great it was. And it was just a magnificent match. You had your Iron Man and Ted DiBiase, who was in the ring for 44 minutes. And you had the magnificent standoff between Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan to set up their match at WrestleMania. Just awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. And the ending is great because Mr. Perfect, there was a miscommunication between him and Rick Rude. Rick Rude got eliminated because of Perfect, and then Hogan beat him up a couple of times and threw him out, and the fans erupted. And somebody had a sign that Hulkamania will live forever. Hulk Hogan got it into the ring, and he held it up, and it's an iconic moment. An iconic moment. This match had iconic moment after iconic moment after iconic moment. The standoff between, Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. The ending with Hogan. Ted DiBiase being the Iron Man. Randy Savage going into the ring and attacking Jake Roberts, planting seeds for things to come, perhaps. And Demolition just, being absolute destroyers. So this match, my God, like by the end I was spent. And in a good way. In a good way. Because at the end I was like, I think I need a cigarette. It was so good. It was so freaking good. I give this match 4 and you know what? 4.5 stars. I'll give it 4.5 stars. I could give it higher, but there are moments, especially because of Ultimate Warrior, where it did seem like he was lost. And the other thing that I did not like, this is just nitpicking. This is just nitpicking, but to get a 5-star rating, it needs to be, there needs to be not a single moment where I'm taken out of the match. That's, 5 stars is like a perfect rating. It's like perfect. It's a perfect match. But there are many moments in this match where there are wrestlers that kind of felt lost, and there were in the ring more baby faces than heels. Where so that sometimes a guy like Snuka, he can't help it but attack Hogan. You know, all right, I'll work heel. And the fans were like, boo, and they just, yay, boo. And they just, sometimes they're even quiet. They're like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, we don't know where to go. We don't know how to think. You know, so if you had more heels in the ring, you know, and so that, you know, the baby faces are outmatched, then I think it would have been a much better dynamic where, you know, the baby face is working from underneath. That, like I always say, it always works. It's a formula that always works. That's what wrestling is all about. And the fans, I think, would have been much more into it rather than seeing like Jimmy Snuka, who's over as a babyface, attacking Hogan, who is like the top guy. And, you know, and it's just like, hey, what's going on? You were best friends, you know, not too long ago, and now you're fighting. You know, what the hell's going on? And there are moments where Ultimate Warrior kind of seemed like he was lost, and Haku would grab him by the arm, and he's like, you know, hey, attack me. Come on, attack me. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he goes off and attacks somebody else. Just, I laughed. I laughed so freaking hard when that happened. So, match is a freaking magnificent match. It's an absolutely awesome match. I really, really enjoyed it. You had, yeah, Akeem and, you know, in the ring. Just like so many guys in this match. That's just like, you know, star after star after star. It's just like, wow, wow. I can't help it. But I gotta give this show. I gotta give this entire show an 8.5 out of 10. Not really a 9. I give it an 8.5. You had a great main event. You had a really good opener. You know what? I might go as far as give it a 9. Actually, come to think of it, because you had a great opener. You had a so and so middle of the card, but the main event was great, and you had the brother love segment. I'll give it an 8.5. I'm not going to give it a 9. You know, because the Ronnie Garvin match really was really bad. Like, it took me out of it. You know, and I think even a star and a half is way too generous. You know, I might give it like a star. You know, but you know the other matches I kind of enjoyed. I really enjoyed, and you know the main event was off the charts, and the opener was great. So, you know what? I'll give it a 9. I'll give it a 9. It's a great show, and it was an easy watch. Just under 3 hours, just under 3 hours. I think it was like 2 hours and some change, like 2 hours and a half. And it's not that much different than watching like a recent movie. So it was great. It was I really enjoyed it. So that is it. And with that being said, like, comment, and subscribe. Ding that bell icon for future episodes on the Variety Vendor channel. And check out my next video if we talk about something else. Take care.